Hi class, welcome to week 13. So we spent the last 2 weeks talking about inferential statistics. We started with what they were and the philosophical basis for why we use them. And then we talked a little bit about common tests and how they were applied to research based on design. So this week is the final week of talking about statistics, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that are involved in using this method to kind of generalize sample findings to a population. So as you know by now very well, the whole basis of science is trying to measure a small, containable, controllable population and use it in the best way you can to generalize it to the whole population that's out there. And of course, in doing something like that, there is inherent error. Scientists do the best they can to generalize their findings the best way possible and make sure that they're as accurate as possible. But that's not always the case. It's just kind of a side effect of the way that we do things, especially the use of p-values, which are often interpreted in kind of a way that is not correct. So it's very easy to misinterpret statistical findings and kind of make implications that aren't necessarily factually accurate. There's a really great paper that was put out a couple of years ago by a researcher named Unitas, and he talked about how a large percentage of published findings are false. And the reason for that is because we rely on p-values rather than more reliable effect size estimates whenever we're determining whether or not something is significant and therefore applicable to the entire population, or possibly applicable to the entire population. So he talks a little bit about and advocates for a couple of other ways of doing science that are gaining popularity, but p-values really are kind of what reigns supreme, and therefore they leave a lot of room for error. So you're going to talk a little bit about that. You're going to learn a little bit about that. There's a great video that kind of summarizes some of the stuff that Unitas is talking about, so that can kind of help with some of it if it's a little technically heavy for you guys. You do have a lot of reading in this one, and I just wanted to make sure that you don't get the impression that science is worthless. I'm not trying to teach you after all of these weeks, all these months, how important science is, just to end it by telling you it's worthless. It's not that it's worthless, it's just that it's a flawed system, but it's the best we have. And so it's important when you're reading. The reason I want you to learn these issues is because I want you to be able to identify them in the literature yourself. And as I said in a previous week, it's important for me that you are comfortable enough with statistics that you can make the best professional decisions you can. And so knowing that these issues exist is super important in order to kind of keep your eye open for them and make sure that they're not happening in the stuff that you're reading. They really lend themselves to the importance of confidence intervals, making sure that you have a good idea for the window of possible answers with the sample that you had. It's also a really great way to practice looking out for alpha and beta errors, which you'll learn about this week, or false positives and false negatives. And it's just a really great way to kind of taper off some of your learning with the results chapter and kind of get a good interpretation for yourself of what you think that the results mean. So this one's probably, it's a solid mix of kind of more technical and more philosophical stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know. The Unitas piece is pretty approachable. The movie about it that I've offered or provided for you guys makes it even more approachable. So feel free to kind of dig your teeth into that. I think you'll really enjoy it. Your discussion is really just kind of synthesizing everything into an opinion. So we find that counseling research, and honestly in a lot of the social sciences, there are a lot smaller effect sizes when we run our statistics than there are in some of the more physical sciences. And so I want you guys to understand these errors and the concept of effect size well enough to where you can give me an answer as to why that might be. Why is it that when I conduct an experiment on counseling methods, my effect sizes be quite a bit smaller than if I were to be in a lab comparing cells or compounds or something like that? So again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the questions for the instructor board or shoot me an email. I hope you enjoy this. The Unitas article is really a very kind of seminal piece of work. It's very meaningful to a lot of people, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did the first time I read it. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time.